right, everybody. Welcome back to Power 97.5 LA, Power B 97.5 Vegas, iGlobal Media, iHeartRadio. I'm so excited about right now because finally we're able to get some of the cast, the producers, the directors, the writers, all of the people, and Kim is in the building, y'all. So listen, this is about to be a moment. We have Sauda Johnson McNeal, who I'm so excited to be able. I wish I was there to give her a hug and a kiss and all of the things, and just straighten out because she's outside. We have the beautiful Kimberly L. Ogletree, who is a producer of all of the things. We're not even just talking about this one project, all of the things, and we have the talented Marcus Mitchell is in the building and before we even get started, why y'all are here. I thought about this conversation in a title for it because I've been creating these themes after 200 episodes and after season 6 at this moment in life. I'm just like, what are we doing, right? And what is our purpose? And I thought about the theme of this being self-love, caregiving, Black family healing, purpose, and creative responsibility. Before we get started, and Sauda, if you want to start, because I know you're driving, so I'm going to be careful with all of the questions we got to ask you because I want you to pay attention to the road and all of the things. But for all of the people on the call today, before we get into the titles and the roles, what part of yourselves did you have to bring into this film that scared you a little bit? And the film that we are talking about is Love the Skin You're In.
And we're starting with me, Sauda?
We're starting with you.
Okay. First of all, it's good to see you again. Thank you so much. It's always a blessing to see you.
Always a pleasure seeing you, my girl.
So for me, I think the scariest part was really sharing the fact that I used to be have self-injurious behavior, that I was a scratcher. I was willing to put it on paper, but then the reality of actually putting it in the film and then kind of being triggering in the beginning when I started playing Sasha and bringing that part of me back from like 20 years ago, that was very difficult. It was very difficult to do, but I said, you know what? If someone sees this and they are in the space I was in when I was in my 20s, then I'm helping somebody, and it's worth still reliving that moment and sharing the story.
Yeah. Kim, what about you?
Legacy. It would have to be legacy. Because, I had a grandmother that was doing what you're doing up until she was 88 years old.
Wow.
She was on the radio.
My girl.
She was talking about, her name was Brookie, and we named a character after her in the film, which was Marla Gibbs.
Nice.
And she spoke the truth on a weekly basis to the community. So I have to bow down and give my grandmother her flowers because, she's gone, long, long, long gone, but always remembered. So yes, it would have to be legacy.
Shout out to your grandmother. And I always say they're never gone. I feel like their voices need to live on through all of us, and especially with the work that you have done. We're going to get into that. Marcus, what about you? When you think of this film, what scared you a little bit?
Well, for me, I think just bringing myself, my physicality, who I am and how I actually look was kind of scary because, my character in this piece can kind of stir up some negative feelings. Mm-hmm. And we've had a couple of screenings and I've already started getting some side eyes from people who have seen it and not really liking that character. But, on the serious side of it, looking at this made me examine my perspective on, what I feel is the best way to serve the community, to be a positive asset to the community and what that really means. Some people think that gentrification and bringing new businesses and new people into an area might be the best way to build up the community. Other people may think that the legacy piece, like Kim was saying, the people who've been there, the things that have been there, the services, those are the best ways. Keeping those going are the best ways to keep the community going. But I really had to do a lot of self-examination with some of the things that were brought up from this piece. And I think that that's always a little bit scary when you kind of turn inward and look at yourself and examine yourself. But I think it's very important.
That mirror that we turn on ourselves is probably the scariest mirror ever. But I think it's always the most necessary. I want to talk about the film, but most importantly, as I curated this show, I remembered I wanted to highlight creatives and tell their stories while they were still with us. And immediately I thought about the legal roots and the advocacy and the caregiving. and especially how that also aligns with all three of you. So do you begin your legal career helping low-income Black and Brown families purchase their first homes, and
Yes.
and ending it with the fight for educational rights and children with special needs? How did advocating in those spaces kind of shape how you advocate for Black women through film?
First of all, shout out to knowing my first area law from like 20 years ago. Yes, doing your research. So, I've always been an advocate. I came from family who were out here in the Bay Area, for the people, Black liberation movement. So I kind of was born into that. It's in my DNA. And so it only made sense that in choosing my legal path, I, of course, went into being able to help those, like you said, low income, Black and Browns, minorities, home purchase, which is a huge deal. And now in the education space.
Yeah.
And so it was very easy in terms of those transferable skills to get behind Black women and really Black folks in general, to be able to advocate for us and show a positive, our positivity, all the great things that we have done in this country, in this world, and be able to put that into the film space. That courage that I had to do what I do as a lawyer, it was very easily transferable for me in this entertainment space to still have the courage, despite what's going on right now in our society and the administration, et cetera, to have that courage to still advocate and say, we are here, we exist, and we are everything.
I think about intention when I think about Kim, and the beauty about your work, Kimberly, is something that needs to be studied, right? You have produced with intention throughout your career, and you are one of the anchors in the execution of the industry that you work in. You've produced across major networks and independent spaces. What made you say yes to this story?
What made me say yes to this story was the reality of what Sauda had on the page. It was about caregiving. It was about love. It was about experiencing life when life is become so big for you
Yeah.
that you can't walk away from family. You have to figure it out. There's a level of rooting yourself inside of yourself to be able to manage it all. And that's what I saw inside of the story. There was a father who came back after, being absent for a while. I mean, that's not my story with my dad. My parents were married for 63 years. They died 26 days apart. So, it's called love to hate each other. You know what I mean? But at the end of the day, family was strong.
Yeah.
And that really drew me to this film and the words and how she actually executed it on the page.
Yeah.
Now, if I circle back to the legacy, I asked her to put legacy in the film because Marla Gibbs was on a Zoom one day and she said, "Hey, I'm still working, guys." And I said, wow, maybe we need to incorporate legacy into this piece because it goes along with family and being rooted in what you know and where you're from.
And I think, Marcus, your story at the beginning, right, as to what scared you, and you think about the masculinity and the vulnerability piece of just your performance. Your work, and I've loved the work that you have done, Marcus, and I think, again, a lot of people need to understand how much focus and grind you have done in this industry. Your work often reflects strength and protection. What did this story teach you about masculinity, caregiving, or emotional presence?
Well, just in general, overall, this piece in particular, you were asking about what drew some of us to it. And the thing that really drew me to this and to my character in particular is that it wasn't written as just a one-dimensional character. This piece in general shows that, our community, we're not a monolith. Kim mentioned that the story of the father and daughter in this was not her story. She had a different story. So we're not all the same. We're not a monolith. But the way that the male characters in this piece were written and the way that they were portrayed. They're not just this uh, one-sided, stereotypical type of character that we may be used to seeing over the years in different spaces in the media, but they're multifaceted.
Hmm.
My character has a certain perspective and a certain intention, but then he's able to kind of have a nuance to it and consider other perspectives. So it shows
Hmm.
that as far as masculinity is concerned, it's not about just being super aggressive, pounding
Yeah.
your point of view into the people around you, but you can have your point of view, be strong in that, but you can also take other people's uh, uh, considerations, their perspectives, their situations into consideration and move everyone in the community forward. And I think that's so important for our community and as far as masculinity is concerned. We need to not be stuck in the stereotypes of masculinity. And I think this piece shows that we don't have to be that way.
It does, and I think the piece really does. So it shows how well you are as a director, writer, as a creative, but also just as a woman, right? That has experienced life. You studied acting, writing, and producing really before this debut. What kept that dream alive while you were building a successful legal career?
First of all, I want to shout out to Ken Michael, our director. He couldn't be here today, but he did an excellent job with this film. So I always want to give him
Yeah,
his love there. So, I think what I really need to share with everyone is that I would never stopped in the background pursuing the dream, right?
yeah.
So it started off as I was at the University of Southern California, Fight On Trojans. Marcus and I went to school together,
Running
Fight
track.
On.
Tell the people you were running track as well.
Yes,
Don't
yes.
leave out the track star. Don't do that.
Hey, track people. But anyway, yeah, shout out to AKA. But anyway, so I was already in that space and had the fortunate opportunity to be able to go out, audition, and saw how challenging it was. And I said, okay, I need to do something else. And so it was always the dream to learn to practice law. And I thought I was going to be an entertainment attorney to then be able to come back and be back in this space, protect myself, protect my friends, such as a Marcus and a Kimberly, right? So that was initially the dream. So even in law school, I was always still taking classes, learning behind the scenes. Don't ask me how I did that while I was in law school, but I just never stopped. And to be honest with you, when I graduated from law school, the reason why I opened up my own law firm with my former business partner was because I still wanted to be able to go out on auditions.
Yeah.
And so that's why I opened up my law firm, because I needed to be able to have the freedom
The
to
flexibility.
be able to and not have someone tell me, oh, you can't take off or you can't do this. So I really have created my entire entrepreneurial life as an attorney to still be able to pursue my dream.
Yeah. Listen, I think of Kimberly immediately about self love. I remember when I interviewed you at one of the premieres here in North Hollywood. Um, Self love is often framed as personal. And I remember having a conversation with you, and it was brief, but I was thinking about your work and just all the work that you have done. I feel like it's very communal. Why is healing never just an individual for Black women, right? Why is healing for Black women never just individual? Why can't it be more than that? Why is it just individual?
Why is it as an individual, or why do
Why
we
is
make
healing never just individual for Black women?
okay? So I look at it like this. We are the backbone.
Yeah,
We are the ones that say, it's okay, I'll get to myself later.
yeah.
We're the ones that don't take time out for ourselves. It's
Mm.
about our family, it's about our friends, and then all of a sudden we're exhausted and you're just drained, right? And we don't really recognize it because we just keep going and keep going and going and
Mhm.
going and going and going. And why is that? I have no idea. I think it's just inside of our DNA as women
Yeah.
that we just do, right? And we do have to stop down. We do have to take a minute to pause and breathe and say, okay, I need to take this time for me
Hmm.
And there's always going to be an interruption
It is always
inside of the
going to
time for me. But we have to be strong enough to say, I'm not taking that call.
be.
I'm not touching that computer. I'm going to stay in my space, meditate, do whatever I need to do to get me centered if I'm off,
Yeah.
and bring myself back in strong.
I feel like Black women always have to do that. When I think of, and you mentioned your parents, and my parents are celebrating 57 years together, and I'm just like, Jesus, this
Yeah,
thing, they get on my nerves every morning. And I'm just like, I love y'all dearly, but my God, today, Marcus,
I'll
I think
tell
of,
you.
Marcus, I think of your character, and immediately I think of just loving the skin that you are in as well. Um, how did you have to protect your emotional safety on set while kind of telling such an intimate story?
How did I have to protect my emotional security? Say that one more time.
Yeah, of course. How did you have to protect your emotional safety on set while telling an intimate story?
Yeah, it's always a thing when you take on a character, and even though it's not you, you bring so much of yourself to the character, that it creates this vulnerability that you can't really avoid. And so, you know, in order to kind of protect, yourself, there's like in between takes, you kind of have to step away and try to get yourself recentered, or, you
Mm-hmm.
know,
Mm-hmm.
maybe not get so bogged down in everything that's going on with the character in relation to the other characters that you kind of get lost in it. So, just taking the time, taking the little moments when I had a chance to try to get back to myself, trying to center myself. So you don't get on that slippery slope where
Yeah.
you're just this wide open, vulnerable person, and you know, um, people on the set start to try to relate to you as the character you are. And so, you have to kind of compartmentalize that and make sure that you keep a little bit of yourself with you. So, you don't succumb to those kind of vulnerabilities when that happens
Mm-hmm.
when you're on the set.
To Sauda and Marcus, I wanted to say I ran Kimberly's name through some folk. And when I tell you, the people all said one thing about this lady is that she has integrity. When I tell you that was the underlining thing
Yes.
about this woman here. And Kim, you've worked inside and outside a lot of major systems. And immediately I had to think about this question. How do you know when a story is being supported versus being extracted?
Wow, that takes some time to grow into,
Yeah.
because when you first start out, you're kind of gung ho.
Mm-hmm.
Everything there's no bars,
Yeah.
right? You
Yeah.
just you're running to in the race. You're in the race,
Yeah. Yeah.
and then you have to pull back. I think it comes with age to a
Yeah.
degree, because once you become a bit tenured, and you can be in your 20s where you're gung ho, and then you go into your 30s and you go, okay, what's really happening? And then you get into your 40s and you say, you know what? I get it now.
Mm-hmm.
I get
Mm-hmm.
it. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how you look at this industry and the individuals that you work in inside of this industry.
Yeah.
I'm a transparent person. I am I my I integrity is a great word for me.
Yeah.
Thank you for that. I think that today it's important that we as creatives kind of fall on the sword of that word. Because
Mm.
there's a lot of us out here that don't have integrity. There's a lot of us out here that are just doing, and you look back and it's like, wow, did she just, or he just twist the blade? Did
Mm-hmm.
that just
Mm-hmm.
happen? Am I hurt right
Right. Right.
now? Am I bleeding? Is the jugular happening? Am I about to bleed out? You know what I mean? It's
Yeah.
like you really have to take who you get in bed with, as far as business
You.
is concerned,
You.
to heart. And I didn't know Sauda at all, had never heard the name
Yeah.
until one of my attorneys called me and said, hey, there's a young lady who has a really important script that needs to be done, and I think you need to talk to her. Oh, yeah, and she's an AKA too. I was like, oh, well, that helps.
That was a nice little added. That was a nice little added piece too.
Exactly. So, it all goes full circle, and Sauda too has integrity. I think the entire cast had
Hmm.
integrity when they stepped on the set. They came to work.
Yeah.
Marcus came to work
Yeah. And
every
I think
day. Oba
I
Babatunde came to
over
work
they came to work.
every day, and we have to give
Yeah.
him his shout out
Yeah.
because he played the dad and he was amazing
Oh,
throughout the
yes.
entire piece.
Can I say something about
Please.
Kim and Marcus? So, first of all, starting with Kim, I literally just told her today that she had integrity. Did I not, Kim? I said, just today I was venting and I said, you are one of the few people that I've met in this industry who really say what they mean and mean what they say and then really believe in following their word. Like their
Yeah.
word is really their bond, right? So that to me is integrity. And then Marcus, Marcus and I, apparently we knew each other before we were even born because our family grew up together in the Bay, right? So Marcus is really, he's a family friend. But
Yeah.
what I
Yeah.
loved about working with Marcus again, because we did work together in acting in college, we almost were like talking about coming to work. We were like competing. Like, I mean, Ken, when we were in that scene where he dropped that, told me the information about the
The
community
center.
center.
Yeah. The center.
Right.
Yeah.
uh Marcus hit his lines. Okay, he did not falter. He was so on point, and so Ken was like, "Well, what you gonna do, Si?" Because Marcus just brought it, and I said, "Oh, not to be outdone, not to be
Outdone.
outdone."
Outdone on your own
So, but
project,
it
man.
wasn't really a competition. It was like we were both really just pumping each other and encouraging each other as family, as friends to like we got this. So I just want to say
Yeah.
that about both of them.
No, and shout out to you for that. And I want to stay on you for a second because I think people don't give you enough credit for even before this project was birthed, right? I love the idea of how close you work with families. And I think I'm interested in how did working so closely with families and children inform the caregiving themes at the center of this film?
Oh my goodness, that's such a wonderful question. In what I do, working with families and how I feel about children, I truly believe they are our most vulnerable population. Even to me, and everyone may feel differently, more so even than elders, because they've not been on this earth
Yeah.
and have not and are not yet at a place where they can take care of themselves or have already taken care
Mhm.
of themselves, such as elders, right? So when you're working with this population, you start really feeling a connection to
Yeah.
them and to family and how much you just really want to help.
Hmm.
And so after that, it's like, oh, let me create stories to show. Hold on, I'm sorry.
Hmm. Hmm.
You're still on the fastest route. I apologize.
The fastest route, baby. She's on the fastest route per usual, and I love it. No, come on.
Um, so give me 1 second.
I want you
Oh,
to be careful driving, ma'am.
yes. I'm
That's
here. I'm here.
most important. That's most
And
important. Look, we can look. You
so,
leave it, we can see you. We got you.
okay. But yeah, so to finish the thought is now when I started writing this story, I thought, I see all these parents who are serious caretakers for their children who have disabilities, who can't walk, who can't wipe themselves. And I thought, how about showing what these caretakers are like when it gets to the other side?
Okay.
When it's now the children who are to give back to their parents who have done all this work for them when they were younger. So it's
Hmm.
very easy to go ahead and focus on that. And I really wanted to do that based on my work in the legal field.
Yeah, Marcus, staying on the caregiving space and being vulnerable. I think men are rarely shown as caregivers without being framed as heroes or failures. With this character, how did the role complicate kind of that binary for you?
Well, this particular character, the caregiving piece, you didn't really get to see him really in that role so much, because everything as far as his caregiving journey happened before we meet them. But he did have to care for his father at a certain point, He has to care for his mother, which kind of motivates some of the things that he's doing, in the story. And so, I think that the fact that he does have the responsibility of looking after his mother at this point, it kind of complicates the decisions that he makes, because it's not just about him. It's not just about what he wants. It's about the needs of his mother, who he's responsible for. And so it complicated it as far as his story in that way. We don't get to really see it on the screen, but that element is there, and it informed everything about the character and his journey through the story.
Marcus, on a personal level, what did this story teach you about emotional availability inside fatherhood?
It lets you know that, I don't know if you have any children. I do, but you're not given.
I have a goldfish and a lot of clothes.
Okay. So this is going to be good for you to know this. And you probably already know this. Everyone probably knows this, but you do not get a manual when you become a parent. So as much as when I was younger and I was looking at my parents, my grandparents, my older aunts and uncles, I'm thinking that they know everything. They're older. They know everything. I can ask them anything and they have the correct answer. They tell us what to do and they know what's best for us. I found out when I became a father that none of that is true.
It's all a lie.
Everyone is trying to figure it out in real time as they go along, and hoping that you don't make any kind of mistakes that might be lasting on your children and their psyche and their mentality. And so we see Sasha and her father. He thought he was doing what was best for her in being the provider, which I think a lot of men get caught up in. As long as we're making the money and being a provider, then we think that the job is done. But there's so much more to it, because we see that Sauda's character, Sasha, she was missing her father's presence. She was missing her father's nurturing at a certain point when the character's mother passed away. So, as a father, everything that you think is your responsibility, whatever that might be, take that on. It's great. Financial responsibility, providing, protecting, but that vulnerability and being emotionally available and present with your children is so significant. It's so immensely important that it cannot be left to the wayside, because it causes problems that you may not even foresee or even think of down the line. So it's very, very important. And that's highlighted and shown in this project.
Absolutely, it is shown. To Kimberly and Sauda, where does faith, on a personal level, where does faith show up for you now in process, in patience, or surrender?
Kim, you want to go first, or you want me?
You muted.
You can't hear me?
I can hear you. I was like, are you ready?
Kim was like, hold on.
Go ahead, Kim. Kim, you take it. You take it, Kim. You start.
Well, I think when it comes to faith, because I'm a preacher's kid, my mother was a minister. So when it comes to faith, that's something that is not learned. I think it's more of, it's already in you. You walk it, you talk it, you become it.
Yep.
And through my journey, when I look at faith, I've had to surrender to the degree of, I know they're going to be hills and valleys.
Yeah.
And I'm okay with the hills and valleys. Because when you're a producer, you need to understand how to manage your funds. And a lot of people don't know how to do that.
Yeah.
And when they hit that bottom, they don't know how to spin out of it. And that's the scary part. So by knowing how to manage that, understanding that, take the strike, for instance. Okay.
Yeah.
I haven't missed a beat.
Me either.
I haven't felt the pain of what a lot of people have felt, right? Because I mean, when you talk about dads, Marcus, my father was like, always have something that's going to be there. Always have something to fall back on. Okay. Don't ever let yourself get caught out there. And that resonates with me to this day. And he's gone. And I look at some of my friends and I'm like, well, where's the consistency in what you do? Because you're veering off the path,
Yeah.
but you're saying to yourself, they're saying to themselves, no, I'm on the path. And I'm like, but you so aren't on the path.
Yeah.
But it's going to take their realization for them to come full circle to understand what faith really means. I don't have to be in church every Sunday.
Mm-mm.
Okay. I don't have to pick up the Bible. I'm not a fanatic when it comes to understanding the word and faith, right? Because I was raised in it. I mean, my God. But I think it is important that everyone understands what faith really is and what it
Yeah.
really means.
Yeah. Sauda, what about you?
Can you repeat the question for me,
Yeah, of
please?
course. When you think of just where does faith kind of show up for you now in this current space that you're living in? Is it in process? Is it in patience? Or is it in surrender?
Oh, thank you. It's most certainly in surrender for me. You know, I am a very much kind of anal retentive personality, tend to get anxiety a lot when things don't go according to plan. If I don't know what's happening, if I don't know a week before, that's just kind of who I am. And
Mm-hmm.
it's really helped me as a businesswoman and as an attorney and, as a filmmaker. But on the other hand, I have learned through this creative process, not the filmmaker, the businesswoman, but the filmmaker, the creative,
Mm-hmm.
just even this project alone for the last 10, 11, 12 years, this one project, it has been a faith walk because
Yeah.
I did not know where I was going to get the money. I did not know anything about filmmaking. Who's going to help me? Who's going to teach me? All of these things, right? And then
Yeah.
next thing you know, someone says, "Oh, have you heard of Kimberly?" No. Okay, here's a resume. Read the resume. I'm like, well, why would she be helping me? Right? Someone's like, "Oh, she's an AK." I said, "Oh, okay, well, let me talk to her." Right? And then even now, we have plans, to start working on Love the Skin You're in TV show and lifestyle show and other things that we want to do. And the faith walk is not knowing where the money's coming from,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
knowing that this film, which is going to drop on February on streaming, by the way, knowing that when it drops, it's gonna really do well, and now people are gonna want to reach out to me and say, "Hey, we want to invest in you and your
Absolutely.
your Ron Ash and make these stories." And that's just me on a faith walk. So I'm surrendering to all the things that God is gonna do and continue to do in my life.
After these 200 episodes, it is admirable to see how everyone understands how this next question, y'all just throw alley oops because I'm just like, how do y'all know where I'm going with this? Sayuda, if Ron Ash, I mean, Lord, I'm like, y'all get out my questions. If Ron Ash were a living, breathing woman, how would she move through the world?
Mm. If Ron Ash or living, breathing, well, let me tell you this. Thank you for that question. So, Ron Ash is named after my dad, Ronald
Oh,
Ashford.
no.
Okay. And I would say, even though he's a man, a lot of who, and don't get me wrong, I love my mama to death. So Suzette Celeste, shout out to her, right? But I named another company after her, Suzette Capital, but that's a whole nother story. Anyway, with him, I admire his level of integrity. I admired just how he kind of stepped up for me because he's not my biological father, but has been with me since I was one, has raised me. And so I said, ooh, I just really, how can I pay him back and keep that legacy going with
Mm-hmm.
him, even though we don't have that DNA? And that's where Ron Ash came from. So if Ron Ash were a woman, I would take that part of my dad, and this woman would be in this space and in this society, helping others, teaching others, talking to them about managing businesses, staying humble no matter how well you do, and
Mm-hmm.
just continuing to give back to other people so that they can thrive.
Yeah.
That's, I would say, how that woman would be.
Marcus, Grey's Anatomy, non-disclosure, blowback. I think you should leave with Tim. Natty Knox, Obliterated, love the skin you're in. You've done some beautiful projects. And when we think of being a working actor and being a creative, how do you resist burnout while building something purpose-driven?
You know, it's a concerted effort. It's a focused effort because, one thing about this business is that you're gonna hear more no's than
Hmm.
yeses. It's just part of the of how it goes.
Yeah.
And so, you can get to the point where you feel that you're on this hamster wheel and, sometimes things just aren't clicking, things aren't necessarily working, and you do feel like you're getting burned out and you're looking around and you're seeing other people doing certain things that you would like to be doing and, things working out in certain ways and that aren't happening for you at the moment. But I think that the main thing you've already brought it up in this discussion is you have to keep the faith. You have to have that faith, which gives you that hope, so that when you say, you know what, I quit, you go to bed and you get up the next day, and then you think about it and you say, you know what, I'm gonna press on, I'm gonna push on, I'm gonna keep going. And I think that's probably the most important part of that, not getting burnt out. And then
Yeah.
also, finding other things that you're interested in. And we're artists. And so, when you're not acting, when you're not doing an audition, maybe you're writing songs, maybe you're writing poems, maybe you're just taking a walk, breathing in the fresh air,
Yep.
looking at the trees and all that kind of thing. So, finding those little ways to find joy along the journey. It's not about the destination, as they say, it's about the journey. And so if you can find those little things that help you to persevere and keep the faith and build it up to continue to press on. I think that's the best way to avoid burnout because it's gonna come at some point.
It
Trust
is
me.
going to come. Listen, before we started,
Yeah.
I didn't want 2025 to end because 2025, to Kim's point, listen, I've been doing well in these streets. I didn't want 2025 to end. I was like, Lord, why? But I want to get into some questions so Sayuda, what you did not know is that I had the opportunity, of course, to now see this film twice. The first time downtown LA, and then the second time in North Hollywood. And I was capturing some questions from the folks that maybe were afraid to ask questions to all of you at a Q&A, didn't know if you were going to have a Q&A or whatever. So I was like, you know what? I already manifested that we were going to all have this conversation. So the first question comes from Monica, and Monica was at the downtown LA premiere, and she says, for the women viewing the film who feel unseen, overextended, or disconnected from herself, what do you want her to hear right now? And anybody can answer. But Sayuda, if you want to start.
What for the woman who feels overextended? Is that what?
Overextended, unseen, or disconnected from herself, what do you want her to feel watching the film?
Oh, I want her to feel that we do see her, that we understand her, that we've been her, and that as you see from the film, you can get through it and you can be okay. And actually be more than okay. You can be excellent.
Mm-hmm.
So don't give up. Like Marcus said, you may just have to take that break. You may have to do some self-care, go to a spa, whatever you need to do. But just know that not only do we see you, but that we've walked in your shoes or are walking in your shoes. And this movie is proof that no matter what, you gonna be okay.
Mm-hmm. This message is from Nikki. Nikki was at the North Hollywood premiere and she saw Kim, and this is for you. She says, Kimberly, what truth about Black women do you think the world still isn't ready for, but needs anyway?
Empowerment.
Hello.
Empowerment. I mean, I'm working on a project now, and that's what I'm experiencing. And it's a need to have to reiterate it that we're here. We're not going nowhere.
No.
You can't but help see us because those that are strong, our words carry us.
Yeah.
And in your word and this art form is the most powerful tool that we have in
Mm-hmm.
the world.
Mm-hmm.
And empowerment would be what I would want women to take away from this. It's not that her dad was absent. Yes, he was, but she allowed him to come into her home.
Yeah.
being on the level that she was, this high end photographer, and here comes daddy that I ain't seen.
At all.
I'm gonna let you in and I'm gonna take care of you.
Right.
That's power
Mm-hmm.
right there. Okay. To how we're gonna save the sinner.
Mm-hmm.
Empowerment. We're not gonna give up. We don't give up.
We
I
don't get.
mean, we can't give up.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's not in our DNA. No,
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 it's not.
no.
So to the young lady who asked that question, I would hope it would be empowerment.
Tim was at the North Hollywood premiere, and Marcus, he says, "What stories are you no longer interested in telling, and why?"
I'm really not interested in telling any more stories that portray us Black men and us as the Black community as any sort of stereotypical monolith. I think that we are multifaceted. I think we have a plethora of different perspectives and ideas and approaches to solving problems. I think that we are a cornucopia of different personalities and quirks, and even though we should have a shared experience in this country, we still have to hold on to that individuality that distinguishes us from the next person. So it kind of reduces us down to a that I would want to be involved in at this point.
Last question. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Rose.
And last question comes from Brittany. Brittany says to Sauda, she asked two questions, but I'll just pull the one. What scene felt the most dangerous to tell the truth in, and why?
When I wrote it or acting it? Do we know, or should I just make it up? Okay.
You know what's interesting? I want to know about the writing part. The writing.
Okay. I would say the most dangerous. Ooh, the scene in the fundraising scene between Sasha and Arnold. You heard me mention that my dad is Ron Ashford, but my biological father, God rest his soul, rest in peace. We had a very difficult relationship. He did not raise me, and he actually was the one who had issues with kidneys and dialysis. And so a lot of things when he passed away, we never got to say, we never got to 100% heal. And so when I wrote that, it was challenging and it was felt dangerous because of that level of vulnerability, but it also brought back a lot of the concerns, issues that I had with my biological father.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that I hope that answers the question.
Absolutely. As we get ready to wrap our show, I curated the end of our show. Oh my gosh, when did I change this? In 2023. And I now call it the therapy session. And I love these last few questions because it allows people that know you, maybe have never been able to hear this answer from you ever. I want to start with Kim. What is the best piece of advice you've ever been given? Uh-oh, you muted, Kim.
Sorry.
That's okay.
Do you want to be in front of the camera or hold the power behind the camera?
Ooh.
And when I started out, I wanted to be an anchor.
Okay.
And I went to, Howard University.
Shout out to H.
And Frederica is on CNN now. So we went to school together. And she's the only one that spun into that space.
Wow.
Now, the gentleman who asked me that question is a very, very, very powerful man in the industry. Okay.
Right.
And I had to take a pause and say to myself, well, I don't want to work on a story and they just can it because
Yeah.
something bigger came along. I think I need to get behind the scenes. And that's what drove me behind the scenes to become a producer.
Mm-hmm.
That was the best piece of advice Literally, I was maybe 21 or 22.
You got that early. Wow.
Okay. And I said, okay, let's rock this.
Yeah. Yeah. Let's
And
change.
let's be the best producer that you can possibly be.
Hmm.
Not anything else other than that. That's what you want to be known for. Can you do the other things? Sure, you can. You've been
Sure.
doing it too long. But what space are you comfortable in? And yeah, that was the best piece of advice that that man could have given me. And
Mar-
to be perfectly honest, I'll tell you who it was. It was Pluria Marshall's father.
wow.
He had an organization called the Black
Wow.
Media Coalition.
I have. I'm very.
And he looked at me doing something in front of the camera and he was like, "You need to get behind the camera. What are you doing?" And it resonated. And that behind the camera I went.
And there you go.
And here I am.
Marcus, what fear have you outgrown?
What fear have I outgrown? Many years ago, I started using as my uh, New Year's resolution every year was that I was going to stop making decisions based on fear. And so I think, as far as fear is concerned, I think that that's the biggest thing that I've come to understand is necessary in life.
Mm-hmm.
To not make decisions based on fear. You need to make decisions out of love. You need to make decisions out of self-motivation. You need to make decisions based on being proactive and wanting to be of service. But whenever you make any decision out of fear, I don't care what aspect of your life it's related to, I think you're always going to end up making the wrong choice because, the Bible says we're not given a spirit of fear. And anything that's related to fear, that's the thing that I would want to say on that is that you don't want to make any decisions based on fear.
Sauda, what makes you feel the most confident and empowered today?
What makes me feel the most confident and empowered today?
Mm-hmm.
I would say where I am with my family. You know, I am married, I have a child, and I didn't meet my husband till I was 40.
Tell the people
And
that it's still okay, because I'm single with my goldfish. So thank you for telling the people, I can't still look good all the time with just my clothes. But go ahead. Thank you. Thank you.
and
Thank
so I met my husband when I was 40. I had my son when I was 48. And prior to that, everyone told me, "Oh, you're never gonna meet a black man who's never been married, doesn't have kids, uh, is educated, is a good man." And so I was confident in
you.
knowing that that was a lie, right?
Yeah.
And so now today here I am on the other side and I met exactly who I wanted to be with,
Mm-hmm.
and that for me makes me feel very much confident, very much empowered, because I never did not believe. And
Mm-hmm.
that's a double, right? So basically
It
I
is.
always knew that that was going to be my story, that I was going to have a family, that this was going to be my black love, and I had a boy, didn't know I was going to have that, but my black love, my black boy joy. So for me, my family is my proof, and that is what makes me feel confident and empowered. And having my husband behind me, shout out to
Yeah.
Chris McNeal for having my back.
Come
And
on.
in Kosi. And Kosi got my back too, even though he 9 months.
Last question, and we'll start with Marcus. With all of the things that you've done in your life, as a father, as a man who has done the work, continues to make sure that he shows up for himself most of all, but for others to see the craft and the skill, what do you want your legacy to be?
I want my legacy to be really rooted in the fact that I am a father. I mean, I know it's like probably the go-to answer, but my two daughters, Madison and Mecca, they're going to be my legacy. They're going to be what I've left behind, my mark that I've left on this world. And I just want them to be great human beings. I want them to go on to do significant things for society and its community, and to be happy. And I want people, when they see them, to maybe see a little bit of me as well. I know that they're not a reflection of me. They're their own individual people, but I want to make sure that I raise them to be good people, good citizens of service to the community. And I want my wife Shantae to be able to be proud of me as well. And so, my legacy, that's what I really want my legacy to be, rooted in that.
Kimberly,
Yes.
what are the quiet battles audiences never see that producers fight to protect Black women's narratives?
Honesty and truth, where they're coming from, why they're saying what they're saying, why it's a need to tell what they're telling. That is a constant push. And to cross that threshold, which is what we did in this film, is paramount. Paramount, because there was no one saying you can't do this, you can't do that, or this costs too much, or that's not what we were actually looking for. We all worked as a team. So when several people were about to hit a brick wall, I said, you're getting ready to slit your jugular and you're about to hit that wall. Now hear me and hear me clearly. Okay. And advice taken. And we just, yeah, that's it. Truth and honesty.
The work that you have done, what do you want your legacy to be, Kim?
I want people to remember my work as I've always made an effort to put out positive characters. Like I said before, this is the strongest and most powerful art form that exists to man. Okay?
Yeah.
It radiates throughout the world, wherever it lands. And for us to perpetuate the negative, denigrated characters that I see a lot, that's not something that I want to leave behind.
Yeah.
I want people to be pulled up. Like I did the Arabesque series years ago with Roy Campanella for BET. And I said, why can't we be doctors and lawyers and architects?
Yeah.
I don't want to see any of these characters in the gutter. Okay. And that may be a reality for people, but that doesn't mean we have to perpetuate it.
Yeah. And as you said earlier, about my story.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, that's what I think. I want
Sauda. Last and of course, never ever not least, my girl. You fuse purpose and passion, something many talk about, but they never do. When the credits roll on Love the Skin You're In, what do you hope lingers in the bodies of women and not just in their mind?
What do I hope lingers in the bodies of women, not just in their mind? I would say I hope that for those who still have the power to be able to go have those conversations with their dad, I hope it's not just something they think about, but something that they like. There's a chill. There's a just like this desire, especially if they don't have a good relationship, to go have those conversations to try to heal. And that if it is a great relationship, to go hug your dad, to go out to dinner, eat, just check on him. I want them to walk away feeling that in their soul, in their bones, because, he's not going to always be there. Our parents aren't going to always be there. And it's like, let's go ahead and even if there is not a great relationship, let's at least you be at peace and know that you did what you could in that situation. So that would be my takeaway and what I would hope they take away.
For you, you've had the legal world that you have continued to build a beautiful platform, and you've had an urgency to consistency, making sure that people of color felt seen. You made sure that they had housing and they had love, and you've wrapped your arms around them. With everything that you have done behind and in front of the scenes, everything that you're going to do, what do you want your legacy to be?
Oh, thank you for asking me that. So, I'm gonna be just like Marcus and talk about Nkosi.
Yeah.
And, I'm blessed that I have been able to have him. So of course he is my legacy. And that's first and foremost in the physical sense, right? The human
Yeah.
being.
Yeah.
But what I really want my legacy to be is that she is a woman of her word.
Mm-hmm.
That her word is her bond. That is something that I live by. And when I'm no longer here and people speak my name, this is what they say. That's Sauda. She was a woman of her word. I
Yeah.
said, Marcus, when we doing this, I'm doing this. You down? He said, I'm down. I said, you down to do this role? I don't have a lot of money, but I will put you in it. He said, I'm rolling with you, Sa. And when I had that money, I called him, put him in. Somebody else, Cliff, he wrote the theme song. He rapped in it. I met him at a car dealership 2 years prior, and he told me this is what he was going to do. He wanted to be he's a writer, he's a rapper. I said, well, I'm going to call you, when I do my film, and let's see if we could work together. And I called him, and he said, you remember me? I said, I gave you my word. So when I say that in the film, when Sasha says that, that's
Mm-hmm.
part of Sauda. Not all of Sasha is Sauda, but that is what I want my legacy to be.
Yeah.
Oh, and that I pay on time, right, Kim?
Pay on time.
Absolutely.
Pay
Absolutely.
on time.
100%. I mean, never late. Never late. That's so rare in this business that you're never late with payments.
Any last words any of you guys want to leave with any of your new followers and listeners and people that have seen the film and people that have not seen the film? Any last words?
Well, I'll say this. Support us on February 3rd as we launch on the platforms Amazon, Apple TV, Fandango. Sauda may have more, but she's got the hashtags down better than I. That's what I would like to say because Saw went out when she said the date before. So
Yeah.
that's it.
I'll go next.
Yeah.
I'll let Marcus.
Okay.
I'll let Marcus be the last word as the male amongst us. I would say, just to echo Kimberly, but coming from really just this is our plight. If you truly want to see more projects like Love the Skin You're In, we hear people talk about it. Oh, we don't see enough positive films with us. Then please support us, because if we can make Love the Skin You're In go viral on streaming starting February 3rd, then we now have funding to make more of these type of projects, films, television shows. So please, please support us. Spread the word. Tell your friends. Start watching us. And we'll just go with right now Amazon, Apple, and very many other platforms that we'll have on Ron Ash, Instagram, socials, as well as Love the Skin You're In film, socials, website. So please, please purchase the movie. Watch us starting February 3rd.
And Marcus, wrap us up.
Yep, I would just like to echo what Kim and Sauda said. Support, support, support. Tell your friends, tell your family. This is a really positive film. It has a lot of themes that I think are necessary for people to be focused on and be talking about and be discussing and be evaluating in themselves and in the people around them. We have Oba Babatunde is in it. Wendy Raquel Robinson is in it. The great legendary icon Marla Gibbs is in it, and a bunch of other talented performers. So please support it, and love the skin you're in.
That's it. I want everyone to make sure that they follow Love the Skin You're In film on Instagram. And as we always say on Power 97.5 LA, Power B 97.5 Vegas, iGlobal Media, and iHeartRadio, stay positive, but stay creative. Until next time, thank you for tuning in.